Welcome. We are live. Well, we should be anyway. I'm Harvinder. I've been in Bitcoin since 2015 and I make daily video updates now, just giving my thoughts on the markets and what I think is going to happen and predictions. Sometimes I'm right, sometimes I'm wrong, but I do have a strategy that really works. And in this video, I'm going to share my screen, go over the charts, talk about the crazy day yesterday. And yeah, I want to get into my indicator, my strategy that I used to give out for free, but now I just give it to my private one-on-one clients. And it just really works, guys. And let me just quickly fix the lighting a little bit. I've got too many lights on, and that's better. And so, yeah, like this strategy works. And, I used to try and give it away for free years ago, but I got banned on YouTube and they didn't like that I was actually helping people. I don't know. Because there's loads of scammers out there. And the scammers were, they had their accounts left open. Me, on the other hand, they decided in their infinite wisdom that I needed to be banned. But anyway, it doesn't matter. We are here and it's all good. When you give stuff away for free anyway, no one appreciates it. So it's okay. I'm gonna share my screen, go through the charts, and talk about what I think's gonna happen from here, because it was a crazy day, and it wasn't my first rodeo. I've been through a few of these, and they don't get easier. Trust me, they do not get easier. That's why you have to have a system. You need to have a plan. You need to plan the trade, and then you need to trade the plan. So, without further ado, let's get into this. Let me share my screen. Okay, you should hopefully be able to see this. This is my screen. I've got a black background. I'm using a dark theme. Maybe you guys in the comments can let me know if you prefer the white one. I know that's a bit bright, but I think this might be better for video. And so, yeah, please let me know and I can adjust accordingly. Right, so let's talk about the model first. Like, this is what got really scary for me. Like, see this over here? Like, all right, let's zoom out, just in case you're watching me for the first time, which is unlikely. And by the way, if you do have any charts you want me to look at, you can let me know in the comments. I can look at them. So I put this together at the end of last year, and this is my cycle chart. This tracks all the Bitcoin cycles from the date of the halving. And so what we've always had from the date of the halving, we've had a bull run. So we have the halving, chill out for a little bit, and then boom. Then we have the bear market, and then we have the accumulation stroke transition phase. And then we have another halving. And then we have another bull market, bear market, accumulation, and then transition phase, and then another halving. Then the same again, bull market, bear market, accumulation phase, and then transition phase. And that has been pretty much clockwork. The main differences have been the amount, not so much the length of the bull run. They're kind of there or thereabouts, but it's the amounts. Like, the first one was a 10,000% gain. The second one was a 3,000% gain. And the one before was a 744% gain. And so I mapped it out for this cycle. And at the time, you only know in hindsight. Like, there's not many people that called the top on in November and said, okay, bull run's over, we're entering the bear market. The odd person might have got lucky, and it was the same over here back in 2017. Same again in 2013. You only really know in hindsight. You can have strategies that tell you to buy low and sell high, and I do have that. This is my strategy, which I'll go through later on. But really, you don't know until after the fact. So at the end of last year, I was still undecided. I said, look, I don't know if we're going to take off from here. I hope we do, but at the same time, this could be a bear market. And my line in the sand was this trend line here. I said, if this trend line breaks and price continues to go down here, we're in a bear market. There's no denying it. And I didn't want that to happen. When we broke this trend line, I saw this pattern playing out. I said, look, what's probably going to happen? We're going to break this trend line, rebound, and come back down. That did happen, but not how I thought. It broke down, then it kind of recovered, and then it broke down again, which is a classic, rising channel, sorry. And so, yeah, I did call it, but I did get caught out over here where I got a bit excited. I thought, okay, let's broken this key trend line over here, retested it. Maybe we're going to go off to the races, but hey, that didn't happen. And it doesn't matter. Like, Bitcoin did something it's never done before. It came back below the price it was at the halving. If you look at, and this is what caught me out, because if you look at previous runs, we always have a massive run up and then we pull back, but we don't pull back to the price of the halving. In that cycle, 2017, it didn't do that. And even in the last cycle, it didn't do that. But this cycle, it did. Like, just about. I mean, there wasn't loads in it, but it still did it. Like, let's zoom in. Like, this is on a daily chart. I should probably move this a little bit. So yeah, that was the price of the halving over here. So at the halving, the price was, you can see in the top left-hand corner, 60873. So this is the price that I'm looking at. And then yeah, this came back below it. I mean, it wasn't much in it, but it did. And how significant is that going to be? The problem when you have capitulations like this, there's always a rebound. There's always a pullback. But no one knows when the pullback's going to be. I mean, it had all these levels drawn out, and it was just smashing through all of them. Like, I'm going to show you this chart as well. This is a pretty scary one. I will hide this because I don't want to spoil the fun. Okay. So on this chart, I had like 3 levels drawn. I had this level drawn, so that was 73k, 69k, 64. It broke through all of them. So, like, you know, yeah, I don't know what to tell you. It literally smashed through all of them. And the only reason I was kind of thinking they might hold is because of that halving price. Like, it's never ever done it before. And so when it comes to trading analysis, you're analyzing past trends and patterns to make future predictions and patterns. And one of the patterns that we've always seen is, you know, the price, you know, we have the bull market, bear market, accumulation stroke transition phase, repeat. And I think we will still have that, but I think it's definitely changed. Because there's lots of people, you know, I don't really watch any other, I don't call myself an influencer, but, you know, people, influencers in the space, I don't listen to them. There's a very handful of people that I talk to, but yeah, otherwise I just do my own thing. And yeah, like, this is very different from previous cycles. Like, if you look over here, let me go into a cleaner chart. See this run up here? This was a 3-year run. Bitcoin has never done that before. We always have some kind of climb and then a blow off top. And that's what caught a lot of people out as well, including me, because, you know, we all got spoiled with Bitcoin. We wanted our blow off top. It's like, come on, where's our blow off top? Yeah, we've had a 3-year uptrend, and, you know, now we've broken that. And when we did break that uptrend, I was getting really worried. If you look at my past videos, I'm like, guys, this is not good. Not good. I'll quickly draw that trend line that I was tracking. I think it was from here. I think that was the trend line. It was something like this. So when that broke, I was like, this is game over. And, you know, you never know until hindsight, until after the fact. But, you know, trading analysis just works, guys. It's, you know, if you watch my videos from this period, November. That's when I was talking about this capitulation. I'm like, look, this is not looking good from a TA perspective. This is really bad. And I was right, especially when it broke through, retested. And, you know, you've got to, when you're doing this kind of stuff, you got to obviously look at why you might be right, why you might be wrong. And this is textbook trading analysis. But where it gets confusing is when you look at, okay, you got to look at the bull case as well. So what happened here? We broke this trend line. And that's when it was setting up for a bull case. But then it just broke another trend line, and I remember clutching at straws during this period. I'm like, look, I kind of hope it stays, but yeah, it didn't. So in hindsight, it played out exactly as I predicted. But it's I say in my videos, it's easier to make your longer term predictions are going to be more accurate than your shorter term predictions. And so what I mean by that is, what might happen in 3 months is easier to say than what might happen tomorrow. I'm just looking at the comments. Hey, I don't know how to pronounce your name. Vicky, Vike, I don't know. Let me know. Yeah, this cycle, from what I hear, was the most different. Yeah, they've all been different in their own ways. Like the last cycle, we had two tops. And that's never happened before. But we've always had this blow off top. And that's what's caught a lot of people out. And so, yeah, this is classic trading analysis. There's, everything that's happened is normal from a charting analysis point of view. The only thing that was keeping me bullish was the fact that, they are going to start money printing. So we are in different economic times. And yeah, like I'm glad we've had a rebound. Like honestly, I was just on the charts yesterday more than usual, and I was thinking, oh great, the last in 2017 it pulled about 84%. In 2022 it's like 75%, and I was just mapping out where 75% would be, and it would be around about this 30k level, and it could still happen. We don't know, but I just can't see it dropping that low. I really can't, especially with the demand and how popular it is and the size of the market. I don't know. All right, can I entertain the idea of this is another comment I'm reading. Can I entertain the idea of 2025 top being similar to 2019 top in terms of monetary policy? If it's similar to that, we should get a dump of 53.64%. All right, let's have a look at this. So 2025 top being the same as the 2019 top. Okay, so you're looking at this. It's a good question. I mean, it looks completely different. That's the first thing I would say. So let's overlay the money chart on top of this, because really for me, that's what everything else depends on, liquidity. And so, what's been different about this cycle compared to previous cycles is we've been in economic contraction. And so they've been taking money out of the system, but the Bitcoin price is going up. In 2019, it's similar to what it is now. The price had been going up. And, you raise a good point, actually, because looking at this, my expectations is that they're going to pump money. So this blue line, I'm expecting it to go up like that, which would go in line with this. And so what you're saying is this top is very similar to that top, and then it dropped, and then they started printing money and everything recovered. I hope so. I hope so. I mean, you could argue that pandemic dump is, what's just happened now. So it's a really good theory, and it's a very plausible one. I wouldn't call them the same because they're different environments, but the same thing is what I've been looking to play out. I'm really waiting for this pump in the money supply to come to fruition. Well, for that money to enter the markets, and then yeah, off we go. Let me clarify. I am not bearish on Bitcoin. like, if you understand mathematics, and I do talk about this, and I'll probably make separate videos just making it clearer what I mean. Bitcoin, let me flip over to me. So let's be clear about this. Bitcoin at its core is just economics and basic mathematics. You have a fixed supply and then you have rising demand. And that only means one thing for the price. You can apply this to anything. If you have, like, say, 5 bananas and they're $1 each and 10 people want them, you can maybe charge $2 a banana. But if you can, for 10 people, it will be $1 a banana. But all of a sudden, if 20 people want them, you've got more demand. You can double your price. And if triple the amount of people want them, then you can triple the price. So all of a sudden, you're selling $3 a banana because your supply is fixed. If your demand increases as in line with your supply, as in you've got more bananas, then the price stays the same. And this is where Bitcoin wins, because it has a fixed supply, 21 million, and that's never going to stop. And, when you start thinking about how much Bitcoin's been lost and which is never going to be recovered, that amount goes further and further down. And so my point is, Bitcoin is mathematics. Unless there is some kind of zombie level apocalypse or some kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Not like a COVID style crash. What they're talking about, cyber attack. If we have that, then yeah, Bitcoin could potentially go to zero. But if we do have a cyber attack, you can't even get into your fiat bank account because everything's going to be closed down. So yeah, you wouldn't be worrying about Bitcoin if we have that cyber attack. You'll be worrying about everything else because the whole economy pretty much runs on this system. And so my point is, just by using, I used to talk about this in 2016. I remember I was in Japan with my cousin and we had a really heated debate. And I was saying to him, look, Bitcoin's only going to go up in price. And he was adamant. He was like, no, the state, the people in charge, they're never going to let it happen. And I'm like, but it's just, I wasn't complicating it. I was literally just saying, this is just basic economics and maths. And that's it. And this is when Bitcoin was like $200-300. And maybe it's 2015 we were having this conversation because it went up in 2016. But the point is this. What I said back then, over 10 years ago, still stands true today. And it will still stand true in 10 years' time. Bitcoin is fixed in supply. The demand is only going to go up. Yes, it's a volatile asset. Everything's volatile. Gold and silver's volatile. The stock market's volatile. And because it's a newer market, there's going to be more volatility. And so the prices are only ever going to go up. And if you look at a chart, you know how I teach people to look at charts. Let's hide this and just look at hide all. Which direction is this going? It's just going up. And that's all you need to really know. Okay, is it a decent asset? Bitcoin, yes. Yeah, you have price crashes, but it's only ever going to continue to go up. So, yeah, I am expecting new all-time highs this year. Yeah, we had the all-time high in 2025. It wasn't what we wanted. But Bitcoin's going to start behaving differently now. We will have our cycles, but I don't think it's going to be like a 4-year cycle anymore. I think, yeah, there are some people saying that the 4-year cycle is still intact. I don't agree, because this year will prove it wrong, I'm sure. All right. I hope that I made my point. So, are we going to get a dump of 53%? Let's look at what the amount of the dump so far, because I was looking at this morning, I think. So we have had almost a 52% crash, and so 53% is just a little bit lower, and that could happen. And what you need to be worried about when you have crashes like this, and I want to go into this chart and show you guys something scary. Okay. This is what is in danger of happening. This is the bars pattern, if you're not familiar. What I've done is I've taken a fractal from the previous cycle. I'm just going to delete these, by the way, because these haven't really played out. I will keep that one, I think. Right, so what played out in the last cycle, as in over here, we had two tops, crashed, pull back, smash. So I've just taken this whole pattern and I've overlaid it over here, and I've tried to make it fit as well as possible. Now, what we don't know is, are we going to have another one of these rising channels? That we don't know. Like, we've had two tops, that's similar. We had this rising channel. That's all been pretty much the same. But are we going to have it doesn't, there was differences in the length and everything. So yeah, we might have another, channel, then it breaks again. And so we could hang out at this level for a little bit longer before zooming off. But if that does happen, I think it will be short-lived. Like, I really can't see this taking up too much time. If anything, by summertime, we should be off to the races again. But hey, no one knows. No one knows. But what I do know is that my strategy works really, really well. And I've been getting messages from people saying thank you because, they used it. Like, if you use my strategy, first of all, you would have sold here at about 106. And then you would have bought back in round about here because there was another buy signal, but then a day or two later it flashed sell again. So you would have sold at like 90, 92k. And, people were buying back in here. And so they're effectively getting 30, 40% more Bitcoin because they use my strategy. And it could drop lower, but when you understand the mathematics, it will continue to go up. If diminishing returns affected the pump, it should affect the dump. That's another comment. Exactly. And that's something that I've been talking about. We've had a shallower bull market, so really we should have a shallower bear market. We should. We shouldn't have gone lower than the previous halving price, but we did. So there is that caveat. Trading analysis works. Trend lines work until they don't work. And that's just the way it is. And so I want to show you, let me see if this will work. Okay, now notice there's a completely white screen. Now, I spent hours putting this together. Now, this is pretty simple. And, it's so bright, it's even doing my eyes. Can I put this into dark mode? I don't even know, actually. I'll figure that out afterwards anyway. Right, so this is a calculator. And this takes all the raw data of this is my strategy. And let me zoom in because I know it's really small. You can hear my dog barking in the background. But what I did here is I took my strategy and, I went back to 2012 and I thought, okay, if you buy $100 worth of Bitcoin, and you use my strategy where you bought and sell at all these moments. So you've got the Bitcoin chart. So if you bought and sold everywhere my strategy said to buy and sold, what would that look like? So you start off with $100, you would have bought 8.59 Bitcoin. And so if you follow it through, you would have sold about 6-7 months later. You would have bought back in a couple of months after that. Then you would have sold again here, bought again here. So I've just gone through everything here, every single buy and sell up until the most recent one in January. So if you use my strategy and you bought $100 worth of Bitcoin back then, you would just have short of $9 million. If you just bought Bitcoin and held it, I'll get my calculator, that would be 8.59 Bitcoin, times it by, let's just be generous and say $70,000. You would have 600,000. So there's a significant difference there in the return. And so I'm showing you this to prove that my strategy works, even up until recent times. And so, yeah, I spent God knows how many hours creating this calculator. Now, I'm pretty good with Excel, but yeah, this is very complicated because the raw data, I had to pull in everything, like every single price, open price, high, low, like going back to the beginning of Bitcoin. And, there's a lot of data here, like nearly 6,000 rows. And it's got everything mapped out in here, but obviously I need this to be like customer facing. And so this is the basic UI. I'm going to try and build this out into some kind of website. I need to figure out how to do it. But the way this works is like this. You put in the amount you invested and the date you invested, and then it works out how much you'd have if you use my strategy or if you just held. And so let's just use a simple example. If you put in $100,000 and you put $100,000 in on the 1st of January let's just say 2026. I know it's only a couple of weeks. So if you use my strategy, you would be 3% down. If you just held Bitcoin right now, you'd be 16% down. Now, this is being generous because this is calculating the open price. And so, if you look at my sheet, I think the open price is, 73. And so I have to manually update this. So I've only got up until yesterday at the moment. It's not pulling in live data at the moment, but I'm going to make this better and better, don't I? So getting back to this. So this just this is just a couple of weeks. Use my strategy or you just hold. There's a significant difference there. And when we're talking about, thousands of dollars, we're going from $3,000 loss to $16,000 loss. And it will recover, don't get me wrong, but I'm just showing you. So let's just go a year before. So if you start investing in 1st of January 2025, if you use my strategy, you would be nearly 12% up. If you just held, you'd be nearly 22% down. And so there's a $30,000 difference there. Let's try the year before. I'm just doing this live with you guys. Actually, I haven't really done this, but I did a few testings to make sure it works. And I think I'm just looking at the screen. I'm hoping I'm not. Let me hide my camera so you can actually see everything. So yeah, apologies if you couldn't see. And so yeah, right now, you put in 100 grand on the 1st of January 2024. If you use my strategy, you'd be 92% up and you'd have $192,000. If you just bought and held, you'd be 72% up and you'd have $173,000. Still good, but there's a significant difference there. And, let's try the year before. Okay, so this is during that period where we had like a massive run up. And so if you use my strategy, you'd be 300% up. If you just bought and held, you'd be 342% up. I call that an anomaly year. All right, a year before, my strategy, 223%, buying and holding, 57%. So, this works. Like, this really does work. You've got to use it for the long term. But, yeah, and I'm going to make this nicer and easier for people to follow. And, yeah, let me go back to my camera. Yeah, I don't share this publicly anymore like I used to. I mean, I tried to. People, they just didn't want it. Honestly, a lot of people, they don't. You'll find in life, people don't value things they get for free. And so now I only give this to my private clients. And, they're very happy right now. Most of them are following it properly. Like, they're out of the market. They're not going to buy back in yet. They're going to wait for the actual buy signal. But, I say to some, even last night, I was saying, look, this is the time to be buying, really, when it's a mad crash like this. Because if you just do the math. If you sold at 90K and it crashes to even 70K, 60K, you're still getting more Bitcoin. And if you understand the mathematics, Bitcoin's only going to keep on going up in price. And so I want to go back to my screen and really just talk about, what next? What next for Bitcoin? Strategies are important because they take the emotion out. And when you take the emotion out, you can make better decisions. See, my strategy, you just wait for the lines to cross over and it will tell you to buy or sell. Right now, you should be sitting in cash out of the market. And so, what now? I'll go through the levels that I'm looking at. Now, we could be in some kind of falling. This is, it's not really a channel so much. It's kind of, maybe I'm just clutching at straws here, but there's no real clear pattern here. But what absolutely needs to happen, and I'm going to delete this, what really needs to happen is this trend line needs to break convincingly. In order to really flip bullish again, we need Bitcoin to do something like that. And that will take time. We will probably have some kind of V reversal. I'd imagine, we should get up to the 80K level pretty quickly, maybe even by the weekend. But then it will probably hang around here for a bit. What I can guarantee you is it's not going to do that. And that's definitely not going to happen. All right, someone just said another comment. It's kind of a head and shoulders pattern, right? Which pattern are you talking about? You're talking about this one here. It kind of is. I don't really like the head and shoulders pattern. To me, you're making it fit. Like, to me, a true head and shoulders pattern, which you don't see as much nowadays, is left shoulder, right shoulder, and then left shoulder, head, and then the right shoulder. And really the trend line is the distance from there to there should be the amount it falls from there to there. And so if you are seeing this as that's the true definition of a head and shoulders. But people, they'll just see some kind of pattern and just say, yeah, it is. And it might be, but I don't really use head and shoulders. So if we're looking at this, then really the distance from there to there should be the distance where it falls to. So that would take it to 54. And it might do. It might do, but I don't, in my view, I don't call this a head and shoulders, but I can see how you can come to that conclusion. But all right, so Bitcoin, there is going to be some significant pullback. And there normally is. But then it's probably going to hang out around here until everything else starts to recover. Now, I want to look at the rest of the markets quickly. Let me look at some of the alts. Yeah, some of these alts. Some alts. There's some alts that didn't do too badly. And this is just textbook trading analysis. All right, I want to look at US dollar stocks. Okay, they seem to have opened on a green candle, which is reassuring. So if stocks close on a green candle, then it will probably be a bullish weekend for Bitcoin. See, the Dow Jones has already broken all-time highs again. It is a crazy world. The Nasdaq did drop quite a bit. Russell, that's good. All right, gold and silver, I actually want them to pull back because I'd rather that liquidity come into the crypto market. It's not because I hate gold, I love gold. I'm Indian. But yeah, we really want that liquidity, or I want that liquidity in crypto rather than gold for the moment. All right, so it seems like ETH did better than Bitcoin because Bitcoin broke the 2025 low while ETH stayed above the ETH 2025 low. Yeah, with Ethereum, let's have a look at, because I did do some charting on this a few months ago, so let's see. I had a different chart where I actually drew all these trend lines out. Where's it gone? Maybe it was this one. Yeah, so this one. Yeah, I guess I need to redraw this now. Let's have a look at it now. Yeah, so that's broken some good levels there. So again, we've got this red trend line. It definitely needs to break that. But these trend lines here have been broken. And so now it's really finding the line of best fit here. And we want this to be a low. We really do. Yeah, there's no real clear trend line. And the scary thing is when that trend line's been broken. So where is the support? Let's go into the daily. Thanks for your comments as well, by the way. I like this, it makes it more interactive. Otherwise, I'm just talking to myself for half an hour or so. Yeah, I mean, look, this doesn't look good. But, alts, I always say you can chart alts, but it doesn't matter if Bitcoin's crashing. It's going to take any bullish looking alt down with it. So, yeah. Yeah, we really want to hope it stays in this kind of level here. So yeah, there's definitely room for this to fall further. And if it does, yeah, that would be the level that I'd be looking at. Otherwise, it just kind of depends on Bitcoin, really. We can definitely draw in quite a few different horizontal lines of support here. And even where it crashed to yesterday, it's not the best line of support for me because it's so random. But yeah, we just have to keep an eye on it. All right, I haven't looked at this chart today, but it's important. Oh man, I didn't even look at this one yesterday. I did draw this when the price is round about over here. So yeah, that's another reason for this spike. Oh, the crash in Bitcoin. This is a stablecoin dominance chart. So those people, they're not necessarily going into fiat, but they're going into a stablecoin as opposed to any kind of crypto asset like an altcoin or Bitcoin. And so, yeah, where do we go from here for Bitcoin? I mean, my best guess is we come back up to this level. And even this trend line here, I don't think we will have a pullback. We are having a pullback, but I can't see bull run yet. I'm going to keep this trend line here because that's a relatively important one, this level. So yeah, there'll probably definitely be some kind of interaction with that level there. Right, so the point of this video is, like, if I wanted to, this is something I wanted to talk about as well. If crashes like yesterday really worry you, then in my opinion, you have no business investing in crypto or in anything, really, because you're going to invest from the right position. And investing means you're playing the long game. You're investing for long-term returns, not short-term returns. Yes, there's some plays which will get you really good short-term returns, but that should kind of be a bonus, because really the goal should just be to beat inflation. And as long as you're above inflation, then your head's above water. But if you're just sitting in cash, then slowly that's getting eroded away, because $1 million 20 years ago is not worth the same as $1 million now. There's a big difference in terms of purchasing power. And so you want to have that investment plan, but where most people fall short is that they don't have the right system. Tony Robbins talks about this. You need your money machine. You need to have some kind of cash flow generating system. And the cash flow you can get from a job, or you can get it from a business. And it really does depend on what level you want to play this game. if you want to make millions and millions, you need a business. If you're okay, like, and it depends where you live as well. If you live in, say, because you can work online now, like you can, like I'm from the UK, I can work with people in the UK and I can live in Thailand. So I could probably make 10 grand a month working remotely in the UK, working with select people, a few grand each. And my living costs in Thailand will be like a grand a month. So I can, if I'm smart, I save and invest 60, 70% every month. And you'll still live a really good life in somewhere like Thailand. And then that money it will invest, it will compound. And then, within 10 years, I'd have like a decent sum. But a better way to do it is to have a business. So instead of making, say, 10 grand a month, you're making 50, 100 grand a month, sometimes more. And, you can live in cities where it's expensive. So your living cost might be, say, 10 grand a month. And then you're saving and investing the rest of it. And it's the same system. You're letting that grow, compound, but you're still feeding it all the time. And so you've got regular income coming in and you're dumping it into your savings, investments all the time. And then you're creating that loop. And then you get to the point where you're financially free because all the money you've saved up and have invested is literally paying for your lifestyle. And so that's where you want to be. But investors know there are going to be pullbacks, there are going to be downturns, there's trends. I mean, history doesn't always repeat itself, but it definitely rhymes. You always get bull cycles, you always get bear markets, and you always get those transition phases. And you always get like emerging assets, like you had the dot-com bubble, you had the industrial revolution, you had, with NVIDIA, like chips, silicon chips, and even with crypto, you get bubbles. And they do burst, and it's really trying to jump on the trend as soon as possible and letting it ride. And just zoom out. Like, these people know they are playing the long game. I mean, the mathematics shows that if you invest in the S&P 500 for 7 years, you are 100% guaranteed to be in profit. But you've got to play for 7 years. If you just put your money in and when you leave it in for 7 years, you might lose 30% at some point. But it's all floating profits and loss. So some people play the tax game, they crystallize the losses and sell, and then they reinvest it straight away. That's a separate tax strategy. But, my main point is you want to be, you want to just sit back. Like, your portfolio might be down 50%. As long as you're invested in the right assets, the right altcoins, Bitcoin, it will recover over time. It's only dangerous when you need to start taking that money out. And I've been in that position. You need to take that money out to pay for your life. And all of a sudden you're using, your actual monetary value has shrunk and you're taking money out of it. And if you left it, it would just grow. And so, start a business. Listen to people like Alex Hormozy, Tony Robbins. They're amazing. I did. And I followed their advice. And so, look, I've been rambling for a long time. If you're still watching, still with me, thank you. I appreciate you. Thank you for the comments. And I'll see you in tomorrow's video update. Thanks, everyone. Subscribe if you like this stuff, and I'll go again live next